Hello and welcome to this video on how many friends you can have. This question is more easily answered now than at any previous time in history due to the wide range and availability of social media data. Usage, messages, themes, all these derive from your tweets, posts and likes. A plethora of means to figure out who you are and who you interact with as a friend. Friend being used synonymously with anyone that you interact with in most cases. It has been understood for a long time that you can only deal with so many people. Thoreau went into the wilderness, partially as a consequence. The military is built on manageable units of infantry which create the fighting strength on this basis. Even you would find that your social media and private life are regulated to some extent in how you use it, to keep your newsfeed, tweets and more in check. It would simply be impossible if every person you met in the world was your friend. For the purposes of this video, let's divide friends into 4 categories. Your best friends, close friends, friends, and acquaintances. Best friends being the person you would ask to execute your estate or speak at your wedding. These are likely to be close family or very long-term friends. Close friends being people you have spent a long time with and know many of your dirty secrets. People you would turn to for emotional support and understanding. Friends being people you stalk on Facebook for one reason or another, people you cannot socially refuse to deal with, and may even choose to actively participate with them in large activities like a party. Finally, acquaintances are those people you want to be rid of but cannot. With these 4 general categories in mind, let's look at how many you can have and why. To begin with best friends, it is generally accepted that most people have 1 or 2 best friends. This is nominally restricted by the emotional and time investment these people receive. It is a category more heavily limited by a dependency on long-term rapport, something which it is simply impossible to repeat to the extent of all friends. Some people push this number much further than others, or through very personal relationships. If you can only have a very limited number of best friends, what then is limited on close friends? Close friends are limited by a less ephemeral definition, something that has been researched in depth over the last 50 years by psychologists and anthropologists. This is the first substantial layer of research, and it is generally found that you can have 10 close friends. In terms of social structure, these would be very close colleagues with whom you work regularly, school friends that you spend extensive periods of time with, or those with whom you have regular close contact, like a sports team. Those members of the sports team who are not your close friends are likely to be friends of a certain extent. This is the next social layer. It is generally accepted that your brain has the ability to cope with up to 100 more people in this category. In terms of society, it could be said that everything up to this point would have been the combined population of most villages and towns until the industrial and agricultural revolutions. It makes sense then that if you can understand, recognize and cooperate with those around you, more so in a hunter-gatherer society than in an industrial or agricultural society, but still necessary to some extent. That degree of cooperation extends to acquaintances, those people you meet rarely and generally aren't that invested in. Acquaintances are the final category. They are acquaintances exactly because you do not have the investment in them from a social, emotional, and time point of view. They are likely to be transient. This is why research indicated that you could really only have 25 or so people in this category. Since they are so temporary, it's hard to keep track of them. These would be the regular traders, caravans, and visitors that a normal person would deal with in an everyday village life. It is only in the last 100 years that this concept of social circle size has been challenged, and we've come to understand this through very recent research. This research is called Dunbar's number. It is a concept established in the 1990s by an evolutionary anthropologist called Robin Dunbar. This is an idea which relates brain size to the social sphere of an animal. Generally, the larger the brain, it meant a larger social circle, differentiated into layers of personal closeness, which required decreasing thought and effort to maintain. This theory holds that you have 5 very close personal relationships, 10 slightly further out, then 100, and then 35. The 4 layers describe the furthest relationships. Without further evidence, though, this would have been a theory that held true only from an observational data point of view. Fortunately, further evidence started to pile in. Although some is still under peer review, there is a study described in 2007 which used reciprocated phone calls. The researchers found a similar 4-layer arrangement with close approximations of the same number of people in each group to that found in Dunbar's number. This would seem to back up everything else seen so far. This limit of 150 is a far cry from the Facebook 5,000 or Twitter's need to cull fake accounts that pile on to these people who can have hundreds of thousands of followers, who are meant to have some kind of social interaction. Therefore, 150 is then further broken down into differing degrees of personal relationship, which means that Facebook, Twitter, and every other form of social media will lie to you to some extent to make it seem as though you have a more personal relationship, and to foster such personal relationships. Then again, you can never really do better than a dog for your friend. Thank you for watching this video. If it has been of interest, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing. Please post any comments, questions, or suggestions below.